We need an army, not a hunter. There could be hundreds of them out there.
Hundreds? It'll take hours to kill them all. She's right, we should just go.
What's up, folks? Mike for CMCC Builds here, back with another Baldur's Gate 3 video. This time we're going to optimize the companions. I wanted to make this video a while back, but friend of the channel, Colby from D4 D&D Deep Dive, did a pair of videos on the subject and I didn't want to step on his toes. By that I mean get completely overshadowed by his massive online presence.
Yeah, it's just 100 times bigger than I expected.
Enough time has passed though, and I've played with enough variations of the companions to find what, in my opinion, is the right build for each character. That's the right build for me and my playstyle. Your mileage may vary. I'll occasionally mention some other options for those that want to try some variants in my choices. Before we jump in, I want to thank today's sponsor. Many of you play tabletop RPGs. Many of you found me through Baldur's Gate 3 videos and may be considering trying your hand at tabletop RPGs. Either way, Describe can be a huge help for anyone looking to play either on VTT or in person, because Describe is an award-winning TTRPG publisher of lush descriptions, immersive sounds, and interactive maps. So if you're looking for an easy way to dive into the world of tabletop gaming, or even if you're a seasoned vet, Describe is a fantastic option. Looking for a killer narrative of nearby goblin patrol? They got you covered. Perhaps your session calls for thrilling music and ambiance for an epic vault heist? You'll find that as well. Is your party looking for its next quest at the Adventurers Guild Hall? Here's the map and key. If you're on the fence about whether or not to sign up, go for it. You'll love it, and it does wonders to help the channel. Check out the link below, describe.com/CMCC. Use that link and the code CMCC to get 10% off your first payment. All right, back to the companions. There may be some minor spoilers here, so if you want to go in completely fresh, check out some of my other videos and come back when you're ready. The rules for these builds are: 1. All companions must be at least 1 level in their original class. Changing Will from a straight class warlock into a level 12 barbarian just doesn't make sense given his background and storyline. And there is no 2. That's pretty much it. Everyone's favorite vamp spawn with his roguish good looks, debonair charm, and biting wit. Here's the problem. He's a rogue, and rogues aren't very good. I know, everyone loves rogues, but that doesn't make them actually good. I've seen some people respec Astarion into a version of the Swords Bard that I recently posted here. If you haven't seen that, check it out. To be completely honest, I think that's a perfectly reasonable route to take with him. In fact, I'm going to do that with my next playthrough. But for this playthrough, I'm the Bard, and I'm not trying to start a band.
No. You know what? I'm the biggest star here, man. That's the way it is.
The restriction we're giving ourselves is to maintain at least 1 level in the character's original class, but that doesn't mean we need to start with the level in that class. Instead, we're going to start with a level in Fighter. Only do this if you're respecing after level 8. This will not be the primary class, but we want Constitution saving throw proficiency to help us maintain concentration on spells. Yes, Astarion will cast spells with this build. Fighter 1 also gives access to heavy armor, which you may want if you don't mind the disadvantage in stealth rolls. I fluctuate between whatever available magic armors offer me the best features, bonuses, and AC, and that will change based on where you are in the game. For ability scores, dump strength with an 8, only a 14 with dexterity, but we're going to bump that by 2 with the racial bonus. Constitution 14, intelligence 8, wisdom 15, and we'll bump that by 1 with the racial ASI. And then charisma, we can go all the way up to 12. Now, if you're progressing from level 1 or any level 8 or lower, I wouldn't start with Fighter. I'd dive right into the primary class for this build, which once again isn't Rogue. Instead, we're taking Ranger for 5 levels. And what better subclass of the game for Astarion than Gloomstalker? For favorite enemy, take Keeper of the Veil. I don't use Ensnaring Strike, especially at higher levels. We have much better concentration options like the fantastic Spike Growth. So Bounty Hunter is out. Mage Breaker offers True Strike and Arcana, which is Ranger Knight gives heavy armor proficiency. If you're going from level 1, this is a viable option if you want heavy armor, but we get it through Fighter with a late level respec. And Sanctified Stalker offers a ranged cantrip that avoids cover and provides a saving throw instead of an attack roll. It does fill some gaps that I may consider for a 5e build, but in this game, our ranged options will be almost always useful with our weapons. Veil it is. For Natural Explorer, take anything other than Urban Tracker, since Astarion already has this proficiency through the Charlatan background. At Ranger 2, assuming you already have the archery fighting style, take 2 weapon fighting to provide a bonus to your offhand attacks. Pick the spells that work for your playstyle or party makeup. I like Cure Wounds, Fog Cloud, Good Berry, Long Strider, Speak with Animals, and occasionally Hunter's Mark, but that eats up bonus actions that we want to use for more killing.
Anyway, it's a brand new day. I'm sure we'll find lots of people for you to kill.
Ranger 3, take Gloomstalker to get all those goodies, an extra attack on round 1 with extra damage, a bonus action hide, invisibility in light or heavy obscurity, double dark vision distance, and the disguise self spell. Long Strider, Speak with Animals, and this spell are all rituals, so use them a lot. Enhanced Leap is also a good option, by the way. I just don't personally use it often because I tend to not prep for battles. It just makes the combat too easy. Personal preference, your style may vary. At Ranger 4, we get a feat, and Sharpshooter is a must grab here. At this point, you'll probably have access to 2 hand crossbows. You can use those to get a free bonus action attack with both Sharpshooter and your ability score modifier applied. You can also double up on melee weapons for the same effect, minus Sharpshooter, but I tend to prefer a single rapier and the shield option since that AC bonus does stick around even when doubling up on hand crossbows. Ranger 5 extra attack. We're up to 4 in round 1 and 3 in subsequent rounds. Astarion gets level 2 spells. Spike Growth is absolutely mandatory for me. This spell is fantastic in 5e and great in this game too. It's a bit easier for enemies to jump out of it, but most will just trudge through and take the damage. Pass Without a Trace is my secondary go-to, but there are several other good options. At this point, switch out of Ranger and back into Fighter for 3 more levels. This gives Action Surge at level 2. Unfortunately, Action Surge in round 1 doesn't allow you to use Gloomstalker's Dread Ambusher extra attack again, like 5e does, which sucks, but it's still a great ability. At level 3, take Battle Master to get maneuvers and superiority dice. Precision Attack is also nerfed from 5e as you can't apply it after the roll, but it can be useful against high AC enemies or when you have disadvantage. Pushing Attack works great with Spike Growth. When they get out, blast them right back in. For the final maneuver, pick any of the many good options left. Riposte is a good option to allow for an off-turn attack to reapply Sneak Attack when in melee. At Fighter 4, use the ASI to bump your dexterity to 18, and from here, bounce out of Fighter and finally into Rogue. Obviously, if you want that roguish feel on your character earlier, then take Rogue levels earlier. It's not a huge deal. All 3 remaining levels will be in Rogue. Expertise, Sneak Attack, and Cunning Action are all great on this build, and for level 3, you can pick a subclass. We have 2 great options. Assassin is fantastic because when going first, and this build has a bonus to initiative due to Gloomstalker's Dread Ambusher and a high dex score, so Astarion should go first a lot. This subclass provides advantage against all creatures who haven't taken a turn yet. This again combos well with both Sharpshooter's -5 and Sneak Attack, which requires advantage in most opening rounds when your allies aren't near any enemies. You can also generate auto crits through surprise rounds, which is incredibly easy with Pass Without a Trace, a high dex, and even invisibility through Umbral Shroud. The other option is the Thief subclass, which gives an additional bonus action attack to allow for your offhand crossbow to fire a Sharpshooter attack. I prefer the former, it fits the character and offers some very powerful options. Up next, we have Gale, the lover of magic in more ways than one. There are so many ways you can go with Gale, given his explosive backstory. Evoker seems like an obvious fit, but the one I'm playing now, and the one I like the most, is Abjuration Wizard. The most common way to build this archetypical character is to start with 1 to 2 levels in Warlock. That gives access to the all-important Armor of Agathis at level 1, and access to unlimited castings of Mage Armor to cheese your way to a full Arcane Ward. But in BG3, there's a potentially better way to do this while avoiding the cheese and not giving up that second level in Wizard, which really hurts your progression and power level. And adding in Constitution saving throw proficiency in exchange for the Mage Armor cheese is the icing on top. Gale is a wizard, and you want him to have max level spells available to him. And going this new route even provides full spell slot progression. And that is starting with a level in Sorcerer instead of Warlock. This gives a boatload of cantrips. Gale's charisma will not be good, so stack up on all the cantrips that don't require attack rolls or saving throws. Do the same for your level 1 spell selection. For the subclass, go with Draconic Bloodline, specifically the White Dragon. This provides a free spell. And would you look at that? It's Armor of Agathis. Fantastic. Our spell slot progression hasn't and won't slow down, unlike a Warlock dip. And we have the spell we need. Why do we need this spell? Let's fix our stats and dive into Wizard to find out. Strength 8, Dexterity 14, Constitution 15 with a +1 racial increase to 16, Intelligence is 14 with a +2 bringing that to 16. We just don't have the half piece to justify a 17 here. A 12 Wisdom and an 8 Charisma. take 2 levels of Wizard and the Abjuration subclass. This subclass is strong in 5e, but it's even better in Baldur's Gate, as the Arcane Ward feature works a bit differently. When you cast an Abjuration spell, think Armor of Agathis, Shield, Counterspell, your ward increases by the spell's level up to 2 times your Wizard level. So 4 at this point and up to 22. Each time you take damage, the ward absorbs damage up to that total and then decreases the ward by 1. You don't take the damage, which means even if you have temporary hit points, those don't get decreased. And Gale will have temporary hit points because you're going to cast Armor of Agathis whenever you can. Since the ward absorbs the damage instead of you keep the temp hit points, keep Armor of Agathis going, and dish out the armor's cold damage to any enemies that attack within range. Super strong, very fun. Run around, incur opportunity attacks, and watch enemies freeze to death. Feel free to douse them in water to double the effects of the cold damage. Continue on to Wizard until 4. You already have Constitution saving throw proficiency through Sorcerer, so grab Warcaster to secure concentration checks. If you already have a magic item that does this, then bump Intelligence or take a feat like Alert. At Wizard 6, Projected Ward allows Gale to reduce the damage done to nearby allies. This does work in a lot of the same ways Warding Flare does, but unlike Flare, it's a limited, yet easily replenished resource. At level 7, Gale gets access to 4th level spells, which means Fire Shield is now available. This spell allows you to double up on the cold damage effect, use the Chill Shield, and anyone who hits you gets dealt the Armor of Agathis damage plus another 2d8 cold from the Chill Shield. Most important, this spell isn't concentration, so you can have both spells active along with one of the many powerful concentration spells available to wizards. Web, Fear, Hypnotic Pattern, Haste, the wall spells, Binding, Domination, and Hold spells. So many options that don't interfere with your primary damage dealing option of getting hit and dealing cold damage back at the attacker. With Constitution save proficiency and Warcaster's advantage, making your con checks shouldn't be much of an issue. At 8, bump Intelligence. There are a ton of magic items that boost your spell DC, especially in Act 3, so I wouldn't worry too much about getting that Intelligence maxed out. You can also bump ability scores in other ways during the story, which is the direction I went for Gale. You can also take something like Lucky to make it pretty much certain you never lose concentration on a spell. At Wizard 10, Improved Abjuration gives 10 stacks of the Arcane Ward after a short rest, which is nice, especially if you're low on spell slots. At Wizard 11, that number jumps to 11, and Gale now has access to the highest level spells along with that full spell slot progression, which doesn't matter at level 12, but it matters at every single level before it. One quick note before we move on, I've seen some builds take a level in Cleric here to get heavy armor proficiency. A single Cleric dip can be powerful with the right build, but with this one, heavy armor can actually be counterproductive. You want to have a good armor class, and you will. Magical light armor with a +2 dexterity mod and a shield should get you an AC between 16 and 19 without any magic protection items. What you don't want is a super high 24 AC that makes enemies unable to hit you without critting. You want to get hit without taking damage, and to that end, don't forget about spells like Blade Ward that provide resistance to damage types. Finally, there is Karlach. She has a heart of gold without having an actual heart. Karlach is fantastic, but she's a barbarian, and barbarians aren't very good, which means we do have to take barb levels. It fits well with her story and character, but it's not going to be our primary investment. Obviously, get to extra attack as quickly as you can when progressing in the game, but for the purposes of this breakdown, we're going to start with Barbarian. Karlach will have 4 levels in Barbarian. At level 1, Barbs get unarmored defense, but they also have medium armor proficiency, so decide which gives the best features and AC. A great medium armor will allow you to not heavily invest in dexterity, as we'll see here in a moment. Barbarians also get Rage here, which will be a key ability for this build. For ability scores, start with a 15 strength and bump that to 17 with your racial ASI. 14 dex, don't forget that. This may need to change depending on if you're wearing armor or not. 15 con and bring that to a 16 with your ASI. 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. At 2, reckless attack will pair well with our feat choices, and danger sense adds some defensive abilities to the build. Barb 3, Karlach has to be a berserker. The subclass is useless in 5e, but so much stronger in Baldur's Gate and fits Karlach's personality and story perfectly. Berserkers get Frenzied Strike for an additional bonus action attack that comes with a stacking penalty. This makes this feature far less appealing than the next option, Enraged Throw, which lacks the penalty and comes with the added bonus of knocking enemies prone. At Barbarian 4, take Great Weapon Master, use the best two-handed weapon you can find and wade into melee. I'd also stack up on thrown weapons or objects to take advantage of the enraged throw feature. At this point, Barbarian has done most of what we want. It's time to refine those skills via the Fighter. Fighter 1 gives a fighting style. Defense is a good option unless your AC is already exceedingly high. Great Weapon Fighter is an okay alternative. Fighter 2 gets her Action Surge. Then at 3, fighters get their subclass, and there are some options here. If you have a returning weapon already, and there are some good ones, including a legendary item, then take Battlemaster. If not, and you're still chucking random hammers and humans, take Eldritch Knight to grab Weapon Bond. Now you can bond a weapon, throw it, and have it return to your hand. No need to load up on throwing weapons. It also provides some spell options, takes some out of combat options since you can't cast or concentrate while raging. Fighter 4 comes with an ASI or feat. Here we're going to take Tavern Brawler, bump strength to 18, and take advantage of one of the best feats in the game. A strength bonus to both attack and damage rolls is actually insane and amazing. There are times in melee where you may just want to put away the weapon and blast away with your fists. If you have a great magical item to stack on unarmed attacks, this is the route to go. With low AC enemies, you'll probably be better off with Great Weapon Master. Either way, Karlach has options. Fighter 5 is where we get extra attack. Make sure you get this at actual level 5 and respec. Fighter 6 is a bonus feat. Take Sentinel. It keeps enemies stuck to Karlach instead of running past towards your weaker allies, which you shouldn't have any after watching this vid, right? But it also gets her additional attacks when nearby allies are attacked. Fighter 7 is a lackluster level, but EKs do get second level spells, and don't forget, you won't be raging every single combat unless you're long resting constantly, so there will be combats where you can use some of those spells. Choose wisely. Fighter 8 gives another ASI feat where you can max strength unless you're using strength boosting items or elixirs, in which case take another feat like Mobile, Savage Attacker, or Tough. And that's it for today's build. Stay tuned for the next video where we break down Lizelle, Shadowheart, and Will, and part 3 we'll dive into the non-origin companions. If you liked the video, please like the video, and consider supporting the channel and getting access to all of my write-ups and all of my builds, and voting power for future videos by joining my Patreon, link below. And once again, thanks to the Scribe for their support. Go support them too, they deserve it. See you here next time, folks.